In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to precisely fill your CVT with CVT fluid, no matter how much you've drained out or if you've installed a brand new CVT. Before we jump into the video, here's some maintenance information on the upkeeping of your CVT scrolling across the screen. It also shows CVT type fluid you'll need and other useful data. Now that you've reviewed the data, let's jump right into the video, step by step. You only have to raise the front of this vehicle to do this job. Since I was replacing the entire CVT, I raised the entire vehicle up. So here I'm going to show you guys a couple methods on how to drain the fluid out this CVT. This being the first. I'm also going to show you guys in great detail how to replace both filters and recommend the maintenance kit you should buy before doing such. So let's jump into the video. The first thing you're going to need here to remove the drain plug, as you just seen me do, is a 19mm socket. Once you remove the drain plug, you're going to see some fluid come out, but not much. Still make sure you have a catch pan there. You're going to have to remove the overflow tube, and I'm going to show you in detail how to do that right now. There's two different Allen bits you can use, or Allen sockets you can use to remove this overflow tube. One being the 5mm, what I'm showing here. This is the best one for this job. Although the 3/16 inch will work, and I'll show you guys that now. Just it's not a tight fit like the 5mm. As you can see here, it does have some play, but it will work. However, it's just not worth stripping that overflow tube out, so just use the 5mm. But like I said, this will work. In any event you do strip it out by some strange force, once you remove the pan, you can get it out fairly easily. Here's a closer look at the top of that overflow tube. Once you remove this overflow tube, be careful because the majority of the fluid will drain out this pan or CVT. And since this CVT is already drained out and the new one's already installed, let me show you guys how to reinstall the overflow tube and the drain plug, and we're going to torque both down. And then we're going to remove the pan so I can show you guys how to replace that filter inside the pan, show you what gasket to buy for the pan, show you guys how to clean the pan gasket and the pan itself and the magnets inside the pan. Then we're going to reinstall everything, torque everything down to specs, and I'm going to show you guys how to replace that inline filter along the side of that transmission and torque that down as well. When reinstalling these things, please stay away from power tools. Just hand tighten everything down so you can torque them down to spec. When installing a drain plug, they highly recommend replacing that drain plug washer or crush washer. Here I'm not replacing, I'm just showing you guys obviously how to reinstall it and torque it down. But let me show you guys the washer or drain plug gasket that comes in the kit that I'm going to recommend. Doing this second method allows you to remove most of the CVT fluid from this transmission fluid in a matter of seconds. So that way when you remove the transmission pan and change the filter out, you don't have to worry about anything spilling out.
Oh my goodness.
Once that fluid stops draining here, you could take a cheap fluid transfer pump and remove the remainder or most of it from that pan before you remove the pan and change the main filter inside the transmission. So yeah, that's another option you can do before you remove that pan, so you don't have to have much spilling out. I'm showing you the torque specs here, although I don't torque it down because I'm using a brand new CVT, or I'm replacing a new CVT in this vehicle. That's the reason why. Here's a closer look at that overflow tube from the backside or the inside of the pan. And you're going to also see how those magnets did their job catching all the metal shavings and broken metal pieces from this destroyed CVT. So we're going to clean those up just to show you how to clean the magnets up. Of course, I'm not doing anything with this pan, and we're going to show you guys what gasket that's on here and what gasket you should replace. Here I'm removing some of these metal shavings from these magnets, just trying to give you guys a detailed look at the magnet. I'm using a flat plastic trim removal tool. Of course, using something metal here will be a little bit more difficult to remove these shavings. And hopefully your transmission doesn't look nothing remotely closely to like this, because if it does have a lot of metal shavings and pieces like that or filings on those magnets, you're definitely going to have issues, or the CVT is on its way out. Here I'm only pointing at that divot to show you guys where the magnet pivots at. It centers around that on both. So just trying to show you guys how to replace it back. And it's easier to remove the magnet in this case to clean it. Although I got on these durable rubber gloves, those shards of metal that was in this transmission are extremely sharp and can puncture any glove you're wearing. So be careful when cleaning those magnets. If you have any metal shavings, you don't want those things to be stuck in your finger all day. Once you've cleaned the inside of that pan and both magnets, just place them back in their spot like so. Of course, once again, obviously we're not using this pan anymore. Got a new transmission. Just trying to center it where it was within that divot. That's all. In the event you have to replace this O-ring, if your new filter didn't come with one, here's an approximate size in inches and in millimeters. Here's also an O-ring assortment kit. I'll have the link in the description box for this specific kit, and there's so many out there, but this one just kind of has many different sizes and variations in O-rings. Before you install the new filter, make sure it's clean around that rim, no debris, and that O-ring seats properly or firmly around the rim before you install it. Once again, hand tighten all these bolts so you can torque them down. Here I'm showing you how to differentiate the bolts from the transmission pan and the transmission filter. As you can see, the one to the left is for the filter, the one to the right is for the pan. And although they're both 10mm bolts, you don't want to use the transmission pan bolts for the filter because you're going to damage something. So again, the one I'm pointing to now is for the transmission pan. Now that the filter is installed, it's time to reinstall the transmission pan. You want to make sure both surfaces are extremely clean. I'm using some breaking parts cleaner here. I'll show you guys a couple ways to clean it. You want to make sure you clean both surfaces thoroughly. You don't want to have no debris, nothing stopping that gasket from seating properly. If you do, you're going to have leaks no matter what gasket you use. But I'm going to show you guys the best gasket to use. Here I'm using the maroon Scotch Brite. These work extremely well. I'm going to show you guys a wire wheel that you can use as well to get it done pretty quickly, but you want to make sure both surfaces are equally clean. Here's a wire brush you could use on the drill to make things go quicker. As you can see, the bristles are extremely fine. You don't have to worry about creating grooves or damaging that surface. So yeah, these work perfect, and it allows you to get it pretty clean. Once you've cleaned both surfaces on the pan and the CVT itself, just spray it down with some brake cleaner and wipe it clean, and you'll be ready to install the new gasket. And I'm going to show you guys the new gasket and the kit that you should buy as well. In most cases, the pan won't require much to clean, unlike the surface of the CVT. So just a thorough wipe down and make sure there's no old gasket residue on it, and it'll be ready to reinstall the new gasket and mate back to the transmission. So the OEM gasket is the metal one. I've seen where they sell the cork one and rubber ones. I wouldn't go that route. Here's the OEM gasket itself, or actually here's the entire maintenance kit you guys I highly recommend purchasing right now. I'll flash it across the screen. I'll have links in the description box as well. Remember guys, this is for video purposes only. I'm not installing the gasket here. That's why I'm mentioning that. Just showing you guys how to accurately or precisely install everything and torque everything down. I've installed a new CVT in this vehicle already. The extremely detailed videos on the channel, probably one of the most detailed videos you've ever seen as far as how-tos. Since I'm reinstalling the pan, I might as well show you guys there's no specific spot where the overflow tube seats it or sit in. It just kind of sits in a space along the side of that CVT, and I'll raise the pan and show you guys that right now. The first two bolts you want to install is bolt 1 and bolt 2, and that's the direction as far as you're going to tighten down the torque sequence. That's considered as bolt 1. The other one on the side adjacent or parallel in a sense is bolt 2. That's the pattern we want to start off at. So we want to start those two. Those pretty much align the pan exactly where you want it to be, so the other ones will install pretty smoothly. Here's the torque sequence for these bolts, but I'm going to show you guys how to do it in real time right now. Here are some details regarding the fluid filter or the inline filter along the side of the transmission. I highly recommend replacing this filter, which comes with the upkeep or maintenance kit. Every single time you replace the CVT fluid or change the CVT fluid in this vehicle, it's probably a 2-to-1 ratio as far as the second time you're replacing or changing the CVT fluid. Then you want to replace the metal filter inside the transmission.
it is, like when it's supposed to start raining.
Here I'm using some brake and parts cleaner to clean the inside of that housing or that rim where the filter seat's at. You also want to clean the filter housing exactly like so. Make sure it's clean before you reinstall the filter exactly how it came out. Of course, I'm not going to install a new filter in this old CVT or this damaged CVT. I'm just going to show you guys for video purposes how to reinstall that housing and torque it down. Pause it here because I want to note to make sure you don't forget to reinstall that O-ring there around the rim of that housing. It comes with the kit, so just make sure you don't forget to reinstall it. So here's the 8 quarts of CVT fluid that came with the maintenance kit. Although I'm installing a brand new or have installed a brand new CVT in this vehicle and I'm probably going to use the majority of those quarts, I'm going to show you precisely how to fill your CVT with CVT fluid no matter how much you've drained out. So let's get started. There's a special tool that Nissan uses to fill these CVT up. It's called a charging pipe, but we won't be needing that. Here's a picture of it or a view of it just to show you guys in reference. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this at home without this special tool and pretty quickly. Since we removed that coolant reservoir, the first thing we want to do is find that fuel tube just below the coolant reservoir that we removed to the right a little bit. You'll see it. I'm about to show you guys an in-depth view of it, but the first thing you want to do is find it, remove that fuel tube plug or that cap off of it. Once you remove that cap, make sure you have a long funnel or transmission funnel. So we want to pour 3 quarts of CVT fluid in no matter how much you've drained out. And in my case, this is a brand new CVT, so I have that CVT fluid charging pipe or fuel tube off already, and I poured it directly into the transmission as you see there. Somebody altered this so it can just come up. This just comes off now. Although this cap has been altered, they're still fairly easy to remove, although they seem or be stubborn at times. You can get a flathead screwdriver underneath it and go underneath the vehicle and pry up on it. It'll pop right out despite that O-ring has been seated for a minute. Also, please note this is for video purposes only. You don't have to remove that charge pipe or fuel tube, whichever you like to call it. Just showing you guys a little bit more in-depth view of it since I replaced that CVT, just showing you how it's installed. That's it. After we've poured 3 quarts of transmission fluid in or CVT fluid in, the very next step we want to do is start the vehicle and bring it up to temperature so we can proceed with the next few steps. Alright, you're going to bring it up to temperature. And we'll be back. We up to some temperature now. Press the brake. We're going to shift through all the gears, 5 seconds per gear. And go to neutral, you can go to reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back to park. Now we can check the fluid, see what comes out while the vehicle is running. I'm going to use this clear container to catch most of that fluid because it's expensive. So as you've seen, pretty much did nothing come out, so we know we need to add some more. I'm going to show you guys how to perfectly fill this transmission without wasting any CVT fluid. That stuff is expensive, whether it's you doing just a regular maintenance or completely from scratch like I'm doing here with nothing in there when we bought a new transmission or CVT. What you want to do now is hand tighten the drain plug so you can remove it by hand, because you don't have to do this multiple times to feel this to perfection. They recommend you add a half a quart per shifting through the gears like we just did. So I'm going to fast forward, speed through this. You guys see me do this process over and over again until I see a trickle coming out. So half quart increments, that's it. Half a quart at a time. It's going to be a long drawn out process, but to feel it precisely, that's what you want to do. Let's go. I do want to note or put emphasis on, it may take you 2 or 3 times to do this process. In my case, I'm installing a brand new CVT, or had installed a brand new CVT. So it took me a little longer than per se a CVT that was already in the vehicle that was just drained for a fluid change.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Bingo! There we go. We finally got it to trickle out. Just let it run out just a little bit till you get a small trickle, and you can install the drain plug, and you know you'll have it precisely feel. So I'm going to start now because it started to slow down. And yeah, that's it. We got it. Alright, completely filled. Now we can install that fuel plug. And then install the coolant reservoir, top that off, and we go for a test drive. The voice went out there for some reason, but yeah, this car needs TPMS sensors. Of course, the battery's dead in them. That's why the ABS light is on. I'll eventually change them out, but yeah, we're all good. Let's put that reservoir on and take this thing for a spin. We're gonna fill it to that max level. Remember guys, your coolant reservoir still should have coolant in it. In my case, I replaced the CVT, so I replaced everything, even the coolant, after I cleaned the reservoir out. So you can skip this step as far as refilling the reservoir. You should be topped off once you remove it, unless you start to spill out. This vehicle is driving amazing and shifting so smoothly. Alright guys, that'll be it for this video. Hope you guys found it helpful. Hit that like button for me. Thank you so much for watching. Terrence, I'm out.